Hi everyone, in today's tutorial I'm going to show you two ways that you can gather fabric. One using a sewing needle and thread and the other by using your sewing machine. I'll also be showing you how to gather on two different weight fabrics, one being a wool blend and the other one being a beautiful silk. First off, I'm going to show you how to hand gather using a needle and thread. Okay, so obviously with the hand sewing and using a heavier fabric, if I am using a heavy fabric, I tend to use a needle and thread to do my hand gathering. It just makes it a lot easier. So for the purpose of this tutorial, I'm going to be using contrast thread, and you can too, because it's not going to be permanent. You will pull the gathering out after you've sewn it in your garment, whether you're doing it for a skirt or a featured sleeve. And just thread it through, making sure that you're doubling up, and make sure that it is quite a long piece of thread. Just cut it and tie a knot in the end. It doesn't need to be a fancy knot either. Okay, so now it's time to sew. Make sure that your stitches are quite a good width apart, so about 1 centimetre apart or 5/8 of an inch, and then you just move like this through. Just go all the way along. Okay, and I'm going to gather it so it's at least half the size that it is originally. Keep going all the way to the end, and you definitely don't need to tie a knot at the end of this one here. All the way to the end. Okay, now cut. So separate the threads ready for you to gather, just like this. And just pull the thread along. So depending on the width of gather on your garment, you can now slide across the fabric on that thread and have a loose gather just like this, or a tight one by pushing it together and pinning it on your garment ready for you to sew. After you've sewn, you can then remove the contrasting thread, which is quite easy to do. Up next, I'm going to show you how to gather using your sewing machine and this lightweight, beautiful silk fabric. Okay, so before you're using your sewing machine to sew, no matter what you're going to do, whatever project it might be, you need to make sure that the tension is correct for your thread, and also that your needle is super sharp, especially if you're going to do gathering like we are today, that it's not going to snag your fabric. That is very important. So just grab a piece of scrap fabric and test out your sewing machine before you start. So now it's time to gather. So make sure that the length of your thread, the stitch, is on the highest, so the longest length that it could possibly be. Okay, so here you have it. I'm going to push it all the way up to the highest length and make sure that everything else, all the settings, is correct before I start sewing. Okay, so now it's time to stitch. Make sure that you just pull out the thread from the needle and the bobbin, making sure that you do have quite a bit of excess of thread behind before you start. And what I'm going to do is You don't need to back tack, so definitely do not back tack. I'm going to place my foot down and I'm going to sew a straight stitch all the way to the other end of my fabric. Okay, so I've left my needle up. I'm going to lift my foot and I'm going to pull the thread out, making sure that I've got excess at the end so it's easy to gather. And I'm going to chop that off there. So another thing too to make it really secure is that I'm going to do a double stitch, so 2 lines. So once again, you're going to make sure that you have excess thread at the back, so pull a bit out. It doesn't matter if there's too much because you can always cut it off. Put it at the back and we're gonna sew again. Just do foot width apart. Don't back tack. So again, my needle is up. I put my foot up and I drag out the fabric and then cut a bit of space with a lot of thread. So you do the 2 lines here, as you can see, to have it secure, so you don't snap the thread as you're gathering the fabric. Okay, so now you've got your fabric ready to gather. So what you need to do now is separate the top thread from the bottom thread on both sides. So I use a needle to help me do it, so I just grab the top threads and pull them separately. Just like that. And now what you're going to do is you're going to start gathering. You're going to pull really gently and just feed the thread across. And the fabric will start to gather. Okay, so now I'm going to do the other side. Separate the threads. And pull across. So there you have it, guys. That's 2 ways that you can gather with the same outcome. A needle and thread for your heavy fabric and a sewing machine for your lightweight fabric. I hope it was super easy to follow, and if you have any questions, do comment below and I will answer them for you. And also don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you are the first to know when we've launched a new tutorial just like this one. See you guys and happy sewing!